Who are you? What makes you, you? These responses come from your internal sense of who you are as a person. And in the psychology world, this is termed your self-concept. Self-concept is an overarching idea we have about who we are physically, emotionally, socially, spiritually, and in terms of any other aspect that makes up who we are. The self-concept is imperative because how you act and react stems from it. And on this diagram, we come to see how your identity, your actions, and your outcomes in life are kind of related to each other. Your identity influences your actions. Your actions embody your identity or who you are as a person. Your outcomes are based off of your actions. So it's like one layer is dependent on the previous one. One thing to note again here is that your outcomes are always going to be congruent to your identity, which is to say that they're going to be of the same nature. This phenomenon is known as the theory of self-concept maintenance, which basically states that we do not wait for our identities to be molded, but rather we take an active role in shaping our self-concepts at all ages, whether we're aware of it or not. You do everything and anything within your power to preserve your identity and behave in ways that are consistent with your internal beliefs. You will not, I repeat, you will not let yourself contradict yourself. In the words of James Clear himself, good habits can make rational sense. Even then, if they conflict with your identity, you will fail to put them into action. We're going to be looking at this diagram to help us get a better understanding of how our self-concepts are actually constructed. Normally, what we just look at is your identity, which influences your actions, and then your actions again go back to your identity, and then this becomes a feedback loop on its own. But for the purposes of completeness, I also wanted to include how interaction with other people also influences self-concept. So here we have a mother who on one morning upon waking up just comes to realize all these negative things in her life. She's getting old, she's gained a lot of weight, she's not happy, bills, just a very unfulfilling life. So her identity is just full of frustration, being upset and resentment. And as a consequence, we can obviously see that her actions comprise of these negative attributes, right? Because of that, we can then predict how her family is going to treat her. Because they see her in that negative light, they see the attitude and resentment in her, they're gonna start giving it back to her. And how she interprets that will later on reinforce her identity. Just everything starts to compound. And here's something also important that's to be noted from this. The circle is not really a circle after all, but rather a downward spiral. So with each iteration of the loop, if you will, she gets progressively worse. So one thing that you could do for yourself right now is take this framework and try to just apply it to your life. By now you should have a good understanding of the level of influence your identity has on the outcomes in your life. You don't have to die in despair though. The great thing is that you're not born with your identity. You learn it along the way. This means for us that we can edit it, we can unlearn, we can upgrade it. You can expand your identity. What you do is an embodiment of who you are. So the repeated things that you do in your life make up who you are. I make my bed every single morning, and as a result, I associate myself with being organized. Similarly, someone who trains every day associates themselves with being athletic. The magic here is repetition. Repetition reinforces the identity that's associated with the behavior that you're repeating. You need to gather sufficient evidence for yourself that you are that thing. If you've been going to church consecutively for the past 10 years or something, then you've gathered enough evidence to regard yourself as someone who is religious. If you study calculus every night for the past 3 months or something for the big test that's coming, then you have enough evidence to regard yourself as someone who's being studious. And when you have enough evidence of a certain behavior, which enables you to identify with someone specific, then you won't need any motivation to do that behavior. Someone who's been going to gym for the past 4 years or something consecutively, they don't need motivation anymore. It's so ingrained in them that they just do it. You don't start with your ideal self. You become your ideal self. In the book Atomic Habits, James Clear provides a solution to changing your identity, which I want to share with you guys today. So step number 1 would be to decide who you are. And at first I found that to be quite difficult for me, you know. It's a bit, I don't know, it's very hard to define. But the book does actually tell us that we might come across such, and it provides a solution for us. So the solution would be, start off with your outcomes and then work yourself back in. So if you remember the behavior circle where it was identity, process, outcome, instead of starting by identity and going to outcome, you can just reverse engineer it. So let's start first with the outcome. What kind of outcomes would you like in your life? Some of you would say you'd like to be financially free, be a great partner, you'd like to be more stoic, you'd like to be more disciplined, more gym-like, more healthy. It's really up to you. So what you should be doing right now is just writing down all these outcomes that you would like in your life. Secondly, ask yourself, who has these? What kind of a person attains these outcomes that I desire? A pro tip that I would like to add on that is to find real life people who have what you want. So the second step is to prove it to yourself through small wins. Emphasis is put here on small wins. What you would like to go for is something that's consecutive and that you can do consistently. You don't want to find yourself doing one-time monumental efforts to becoming your ideal self, right? Your silverback self. Do something that you know you can sustain for an elongated period of time. Because remember, the things that end up becoming who you are the repeated habits in your life, right? So something that's repeated over and over, it's about the quantity. Second pro tip that I would like to add here is to involve emotions and pride into your new habits. So I'll make an example for you guys. I wasn't someone who was like very keen on making their bed. Every morning I would make this bed to the best of my ability, like the absolute best of my ability, and that would give me so much pride in it that I wanted to see it like that almost on a daily basis. So it just helped me perpetuate that habit a bit more. An example that was made in the book Atomic Habits was someone who like chew their nails a lot, you know. If you have that kind of problem, then, and you want to stop it, that is, my advice would be, or the advice from the book would be, to take pride in them. Go and get a manicure. As weird as it sounds, you having pride in them will help you perpetuate the habit of not destroying them by chewing them. If you found any value in this video, please like the video, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Make sure to stay tuned, hit that bell notification.